The fog is lifting. Clarity is calling you forward. Welcome to Forward in Freedom. I'm Tanya Johnson. This is where awareness becomes power. Let's move forward in freedom.
The moment you decide to live with clarity, some people will celebrate it and others will resist it. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your change disrupts what they benefited from. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Tanya J, and this is a space for people who are done living confused, exhausted, overextended, and second guessing themselves. And you're ready to walk in truth, peace, and God given authority. And that's what we call from fog to freedom. In today's conversation, we're going to look at the person who has started setting boundaries, started responding instead of reacting, started honoring their time and energy, and suddenly feels tension where there used to be compliance. You're not crazy, you're growing. And growth always rearranges the room. Let's talk about what happens after clarity arrives. When you begin choosing yourself, not selfishly, but wisely, the system around you has to recalibrate. For years, people may have known you as the reliable one, the yes person, the fixer, the peacekeeper, the one who absorbs emotional labor, the one who never pushes back. Even if you change, it feels abrupt, even if the change took years inside of you. Here's something that is worth dropping the mic. Boundaries don't create conflict, they reveal where an imbalance already existed. Let that settle. You didn't create the tension was there. Your clarity just exposed it. And that exposure can feel unsettling, especially if you spent much of your life keeping other people comfortable. Growth is freeing, but it also can feel lonely at first. There's often a quiet grief when you realize some relationships only worked when you were overgiving. Some environments thrived on your silence. And some people like the old version of you better. Not because the old version was healthier, but because the old version was easier to manage. And this is where guilt tries to slip in. Guilt says, you're being difficult now. You've changed. You used to be more available. You don't care like you used to. Let me be clear. You didn't stop caring. You stopped abandoning yourself. And that distinction matters. There was a season for me when I believed that love meant unlimited access. I believed that being Christ-like meant absorbing everything. I believed that strength meant staying quiet. And what I've come to learn through pain, prayer, counsel, and the slow, sacred work of healing is this. If I didn't protect my life, other people's expectation would start steering it. Sometimes quietly, sometimes without intention, but over time, unmistakably. And in some cases, I even had to walk away from toxic relationships, not because I didn't love, but because I finally chose to love myself more, instead of remaining inside something that was harming me. Those times were some of the hardest, yet they became the most freeing decisions of my life. Walking away from toxicity is not cruelty, and I had to learn that I am the steward of my life. I am the steward of my time. I am the gatekeeper of my energy. I am the protector of my peace. That is not pride, that is maturity. Walking away from toxicity is not cruelty, it is life giving. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you no longer feel the need to convince everyone. Early in growth, we tend to over explain, long texts, excessive justifications, rehearsed speeches, guilt softened no's. But maturity sounds different. It sounds like, that doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I've decided to do something different. No drama, no defense, just clarity. And when you stop negotiating your boundaries, something fascinating happens. People either adjust or they reveal that they never planned to. Either way, you have information, and that information is freedom. Now let's zoom out and look at the long view. Let's ask something deeper. What does chronic self-override cost you over time? When you keep pushing past your eternal signals, when your body says stop and you say keep going, when your spirit feels uneasy and you override it, the toll shows up as emotional numbness, spiritual dullness, shrinking joy, physical fatigue, resentment toward people you love, loss of discernment, anxiety surrounding decision making, and disconnection from God's leading. That's not weakness, that's warning. Burnout is often your body trying to protect what your boundaries didn't. I want you to picture a mental tea table in your mind. On the left is old patterns, and on the right, you have new life. On the left, with those old patterns, that's explaining endlessly, avoiding disappointment, feeling responsible for moods, replay conversations. Over on the right side, with the new life, it's choosing deliberately. You allow for discomfort. You release emotional labor. You sleep with peace. And you have energy. This is not personality. This is practice. Freedom isn't personality based, it's practice. And let me show you what this actually looks like in someone's life. Because this isn't theory, this is lived experience. Maria came into coaching exhausted. She was everyone's emergency contact, everyone's backup plan, everyone's emotional first responder. And when she began setting boundaries, she expected fireworks. Instead, she found silence. And that silence scared her. But over time, something shifted. She slept better. She stopped rehearsing conversations. She stopped apologizing for rest. And the people who respected her stayed. The ones who relied on her disappearing didn't. And that clarity changed everything. As you know, in every episode, we include a freedom nugget, something that you can carry into your week. Today's is simple, but not shallow. You are allowed to redraw your life without defending every line. You don't have to submit footnotes for your healing. You don't have to persuade people who benefit from your exhaustion. You are permitted to choose differently and let the choosing speak for itself. You don't owe access to anyone who keeps crossing your limits. Before we look ahead, I want to bring this all back to one simple truth. When you change, everything shifts. Not because you become selfish, not because you become cold, but because you stop living disconnected from yourself. You didn't start causing disruption, you started living in alignment. And alignment always rearranges systems that depended on imbalance. I want that to settle for you in the days ahead. In our next episode, we're going to talk about something that surprises many people once clarity begins. How to discern who can come with you into the next season and who cannot. We'll unpack relational pruning, spiritual alignment, grieving without going backward, trusting God with relational shifts, and how to stay soft without surrendering your spine. You don't want to miss it. If this episode put language around something that you've been feeling but couldn't name it, sit with it. Let it work. Let it settle. And when you're ready, come back next week because this journey only deepens from here. You can also follow the podcast so these conversations meet you right when they drop. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone navigating pressure, guilt, or major life shifts, send this episode to them. Sometimes freedom starts with hearing the right words at the right time. You're not losing people, you are losing roles that kept you small. You are not becoming difficult, you are becoming defined. I'm Tanya J., your host for Forward in Freedom, where we move from fog to freedom. And this is the work of walking free.